Good morning, everybody. Trekking up the hill coming out of Harpers Ferry. Had a good stay last night at the Quality Inn. So good that we've decided to just go ahead and take a zero today. Actually, for me, it won't be a zero. There's a couple of miles here within, look at all these gnats. There's a couple of miles here within Harpers Ferry that are historical landmarks and sites and things to do. I want to go ahead and make sure I make those couple of miles, so we'll call it a Nero instead of a zero. I'll get a couple of miles in today, but just a couple of things I want to get caught up on. I want to go officially by the Appalachian Trail Conservancy Center. They have a location here where you officially kind of check in at the midpoint of the Appalachian Trail and get your picture taken and then log it and all that sort of stuff, which is cool. I'll do that. And they have they also have an outfitter here, so I'll be meeting Detox over at the outfitter, and then ultimately we're going to go grab some lunch and stuff. So I want to make sure I don't miss some of the historical sites and the ATC and all that sort of stuff today for sure. And I can also make a couple miles here on the Appalachian Trail along the way. So that's my plans today. So it's all about fun today. We're going to see some stuff and make the best of the day. So here's the bridge that goes over the Shenandoah River that you guys remember we crossed yesterday. So I'll give you a sense as to where I'm at. I'm just above that bridge on the hill leading into the downtown area of Harpers Ferry. So let's go check it out and see what we get into and make the most of this day. Hope everybody is going to have a wonderful day today, and look forward to bringing you all the cool stuff associated with Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. Okay folks, I'm climbing some steps. I made the decision to go ahead and take a Blue Blaze trail up to the ATC Center. That's where they'll take your picture and do all that. I hope it'll be open. It's a little after 9. I'm not sure what their hours of operation are. But it's 2/10 of a mile off the Appalachian Trail. That seemed like the proper move to hit that first, then come back to the trail. So we'll stay on the Blue Blaze and find the ATC. This will give you a view of the parking lot and some of the stuff I'm seeing. We're into some of the buildings and things of that nature. So we'll get on up here and hopefully with little trouble, we'll find the building we're looking for. Should be kind of an old stone building. Not that one. That looks pretty big. Not too far away. All right, well, we'll get back together as soon as I find it. Shouldn't be very far. Okay, we come across our first historical placard, if you will, providing a little information. It talks about a land divided. It says you are standing near what was once an international border. During the Civil War, the peak to your left, I'll pull away so you can see it. This peak to the left, which is right over in there, that would be during the Civil War, the peak to your left was within the Union state of Maryland. Loudoun Heights to the right was claimed by the Confederate state of Virginia, and that's that peak right over there. So here you had the Confederates, and over there you had the state of Maryland, which was occupied by the Union forces. And in between, you had the Potomac River. So that made West Virginia, and specifically Harpers Ferry, where we are standing, a very strategic location between. So it says Virginia's secession from the Union divided north from the south along the Potomac River at the outbreak of the Civil War. Harpers Ferry was home to the National Armory and the passageway for major railroad lines. These assets made it an important prize of the war for both sides. So to let you guys know, Harpers Ferry, located right here between the two, was actually changed hands between the Confederates and the Union soldiers 8 times. This town changed hands more than any other city during the Civil War because of its strategic location to 2 railways, as well as all the opportunity for logistics down the Potomac River. Made it really, really important. So it was a well fought over land for sure during the Civil War. All right, first piece of historical information for today. All right, folks, I think we have found the Appalachian Trail Conservancy Visitor Center. I recognize the rocks from so many pictures. So we're going to go around to the front door and hopefully it's open, right? It'd be a shame to have to walk all the way back. I think it's open because I see about someone's backpack out here. Here we go. This is where people mostly get their pictures made, right here beside the sign. So out of respect for them, I'm gonna not carry my camera, the video in until they tell me it's okay to video. Sometimes people get a little weird about that. It's okay. Check with you in a minute. All right, folks, we're inside the ATC. What a great facility they have here. This is a kind of a raised topographical map of the entire Appalachian Trail, which is rather daunting if you start looking at it in its entirety. But this would be Springer Mountain, Georgia. And just to give you a reference, this is where I started at Max Patch, North Carolina with my flip-flop. That's where I would ultimately flip back to. But this is where I have traveled thus far, through the Shenandoahs. We're right here now, which is Harpers Ferry. Oh, this is where we still need to go. Now tomorrow I'll be already into Maryland, and in 2 days I'll be in Pennsylvania. So we'll get through Pennsylvania, and then we'll go to New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and then finally all the way to Mount Katahdin in Maine. So we're only about halfway done, folks. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, a lot of climbing, a lot of scrambling, a lot to do. So this is a chalkboard where people can sign, those of us who are class of 2025 hikers. And right there you'll find me, Fixin To. So yeah, we're getting her done. I'm gonna get my picture taken and visit around here with these folks, and we will catch up with you soon. All right, we had a nice visit there at the ATC. They did let me video a little bit, but they were very careful. I was very careful not to video people and all that sort of stuff, so they were cool with that. Got my picture made, which you guys saw out in front of the ATC. They recorded my hike and my progress, and they have like an annual catalog of all hikers or something. You have to sign a release that allows your image to be a part of that catalog, which obviously I did. And so it was a nice little visit. So now we're headed back to the Appalachian Trail, try to finish up our mileage right here around the town. I've got about I don't know, 45 minutes or so before I need to be down at the outfitter to meet Detox. So we'll get on back to the trail and move through the trail and hopefully see some more historical stuff. All right, keep you posted as we see more. Okay, everybody, second historical site. This rock is called Jefferson's Rock, and it's named after Thomas Jefferson, of course, who stood on top of this rock. Now, at the time, those podiums holding up the rock were not there. I think the rock that's underneath it was there, and the rock actually kind of teetered a little bit, and over time, you know, other people would get on the rock and kind of teeter it back and forth, and it started to wear and ultimately became a bit unsafe. So they shored it up with those, I believe those are steel columns underneath it to secure it. But Thomas Jefferson stood on top of that rock in 1783 and was just overwhelmed by the sight. Now, at the time, there might have been less trees or whatever, but he later wrote in his notes about the confluence of the Potomac River and the Shenandoah River, and it was such a sight it would be worth the voyage across the Atlantic just to see it. So he was quite overwhelmed by this location, Thomas Jefferson, in 1783. So there you go, Jefferson Rock. Back on the Appalachian Trail. Look at this old structure. See what we can learn about this. Honestly, you could probably spend a couple days digging in deep to all the different places. This was once the St. John's Episcopal Church. These weathered ruins are the remains of the church, one of Harpers Ferry's 5 earliest churches, built in 1852 with money provided by the church fair. St. John's served as a hospital and barracks during the Civil War and suffered considerable damage. It was rebuilt afterward, but was abandoned in 1895. Wow. There's still a lot of great foundation there. Someone could go back and build upon, but I'm sure they never will. Look at the beautiful stained glass in this old church. I'm sure you can't see it, but up there in that white placard or whatever, it says one Lord, one faith, one baptism. Beautiful. This is when they put a lot of work into a structure with the intent for it to last forever. For sure, huh? So the church we've been looking at is St. Peter's Roman Catholic Church. It was completed in 1833. Let's take take a quick look at the front of this church. Very pretty. Okay, we've come down the hill to the Harper House. This is they call it the Mansion on the Hill. This is named after the founder of Harpers Ferry, who lived here. This is in 1775. Town founder Robert Harper chose this hillside for his home. The home was completed in 1782. Unfortunately, he died that same year, never lived there. Harper had no children, left his property to his niece, and on September 6, 1832, his niece's granddaughter, Sarah Ann, married Noah H. Swain in this house referred to as the Mansion. This home was owned by the Swain family for 89 years. So he built the house but never had the chance to live in it. This is the house. Looks, all this has obviously been refurbished and managed, but you can see some of the really old stonework and stuff. Really interesting. See the old street down here, some of the older buildings. Really cool. This is inside the general store. Just right, new and cheap. Pretty cool. Okay, headed down some of these old rock steps. Like these are solid rock steps. Believe it or not, we're still on the Appalachian Trail. These steps, guys, appear to be part of this larger rock. They've just simply been chiseled out of the larger rock to form the steps. So these are not laid steps. These have been chiseled out of solid rock. And you can see they've been stepped on so many times that they're kind of worn in the center. It's really cool. You can see some of the historic old town from this point. Very cool.
And I didn't know.
This way to John Brown's museum. I'm not sure we'll have time to go to John Brown's museum today, but I'll tell you a little bit about the John Brown, because I'm not sure that we'll have time to go there and actually spend any time. But John Brown is basically an abolitionist, very opposed to slavery. And in 1859, he and a group of like-minded people chose to overtake the armory, the federal armory, which was located here in Harpers Ferry, and they took it over. And their intent, I think, was to take the arms from the armory and hand them over to slaves and begin, essentially an insurrection to overthrow slavery. So he was a few years ahead of his time, and that insurrection caused 5 people to die. I think that his group killed. There was some of his group that was also killed as part of that, and he ultimately was captured and taken down, ironically, by the person who would become the leading Confederate general, Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee, of course, served as a U.S. Marine, and he was at that time serving as a U.S. Marine when he took down John Brown's insurrection. And later that year, John Brown was, I think it was December of 1859, he was hung or hanged for that insurrection, actually for the crime of being a traitor. So he was the first person ever to be executed as a traitor to the United States. So, interesting history here in Harpers Ferry for sure. So, that's about all the time I have today to do historical tour, but I sure have enjoyed it. And there's so much here too. Look at this nice little shops and things in the historical area to explore, and I think if I had another day to do so, I would definitely do that. But I've got to move on and catch up with my hiking partner up here. I hope everybody's enjoyed this so far, and maybe we'll connect and have another discussion a little bit later today, but I hope you found this enjoyable as I did. Have a great day, and we'll catch up with you real soon. All right, everybody. I was able to connect with my hiking partner, and we've walked around a little bit, and actually went ahead and came over here to the armory. This is where old John Brown made his last stand before he was captured and later convicted and executed. Seems like such a small place for such a big conflict. Yeah, better take the raincoat. So here's the historic placard outside of this building. It says the war that ended slavery. It says I want all the Negroes in this slave state. If the citizens interfere with me, I must only burn the town and have blood, declared John Brown at the start of October 16 and 18, 1859 raid. Brown and his 18 men captured and held the armory for 36 hours as the tide turned against the raiders trapped in the fire engine house in front of you. Their leader, John Brown, ordered, "Take aim and make every shot count." U.S. Marines battered through the door, wounded, and captured John Brown and ended the raid. Brown was hanged for murder, treason, and inciting a slave insurrection. Just a few years later, the United States colored troops marched through Harpers Ferry to fight for the Union and for freedom. We're still walking the Appalachian Trail, folks. I don't know if you can see right there on that fence post, the white blazes right there. Now tomorrow, we're going to walk down here in the morning, of course, and we've got I think about an 18-mile day planned, and the Appalachian Trail goes right up there, across that walkway, and across that bridge. And as soon as you cross the bridge, you'll be in the state of Maryland. So we'll be clicking off states pretty quickly now after spending about 6 weeks in Virginia. We will have done West Virginia. We'll be in Maryland for a couple days, and then we'll be in Pennsylvania for a couple hundred miles. So, yeah, making progress now. We've been making progress. It just seems more progressive when you know that you're crossing all these state lines quickly. So, yeah, you can see remnants here of an old bridge crossing. Now the newer bridge above it. And this is, of course, where the train runs. just passed a few minutes ago. Really beautiful. I wouldn't mind coming back someday. Maybe spend a day or so when I had more time here in Harpers Ferry. Again, I hope everybody's enjoyed a little historical tour, and we'll look forward to doing more of this in the morning for sure. Have a great day.